Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm using my teacher voice because I don't have the fancy little microphone that Karin has, and especially, yeah, this is Karin.
We'll just talk close enough.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
He's catching me.
Oh, okay. Good.
But thank you for the assist. I have been a member of the board of the National Trumpet Competition since 2009, and rules coordinator for the last 9 of those. And this moment right here is my last official act as a member of the board of NTC.
Woo!
And easy, Denny, don't, just...
Sad.
I'm ready to go. It is my privilege and my pleasure and my honor to use this last official act to introduce one of the most special people that I know, that I've ever worked with. I first saw and heard Karin when she walked on the concert hall stage at Boston University in about 2002, I think, auditioning for the brass faculty for the Bachelor of Music, and I am so pleased that that worked out for her to actually study at BU for the next 4 years, as well as BUTI, where one of us may or may not have spiked the volleyball on the other one. It's a great time at Boston University Tango Institute this summer. I'll recover. Karin is one of the most remarkable human beings you are going to meet, one of the most remarkable trumpet players. She has gone from success to success to success, and has also dealt with some of the most stressful things that one could imagine in a trumpet playing career. And she is rising above, as you're going to find out. And it is my great honor to introduce to you the final masterclass for NTC for this year, Karin Bliznik.
I have to take my first moment to thank Terry in this moment for all of his service to the National Trumpet Competition, because without him, it would be really confusing because we need some rules in this system. So anyway, but thank you so much. Quick applause, though, for Terry Everson. And obviously, Denny and Rebecca, who are also our beautiful hosts. It's been, for me, an exhilarating experience, remembering all of the feels that exist around the National Trumpet Competition. So today, I have decided that I want you to choose what we're going to be talking about today by bringing up a poll system here. Just a quick overview. If you'd like to be involved in deciding what direction, choose your own adventure. This isn't an app or anything. It'll bring you right to a website. We are going to take a quick poll. Maybe I should actually start, though, a quick background before. So, all right, we got the right page? All right, cool. So I know that Terry gave a brief bio, but I figured I should kind of just tell you a little bit about just my profession so far. I've been in this career for 15 years. When I was, my undergraduate degree, it's like, where do I begin? It starts from an infant. I'll start back at high school, because I feel like a lot of you might relate to that. I was lucky to go to a public high school, Brockton High School, that had an amazing music program. The music director, Vincent Macrina, was a force, wonderful leader, and a great community person and organizer. It was something that I really loved being a part of, and so from a young age, the passion was growing. I would enter every day. I would walk to school. I would enter through the Fine Arts building and drop my trumpet off, go to my classes, and couldn't wait to get to band at the end of the day. I moved on to Boston University and studied with Terry Everson for about all 4 years. Yeah. And then went to study with Tom Rolfs of the Boston Symphony when I decided that orchestral music was something that I was a little bit more excited about in that moment, in addition to studying solo repertoire with Terry. So I was really lucky to have 2 professors in my undergraduate. I moved on to Northwestern University, where I studied with Barbara Butler and Charlie Geyer. I think we probably recognize some of those names. Let's send our love and care to Charlie Geyer right now. Just take a moment. Talking about hard times, Charlie's going through some hard times right now, so I think they would really appreciate that. Can move past that emotion, but he's a really special person to all of us when it comes to lineage of trumpet playing. Moving on. when I began my orchestral career, I started with the Charleston Symphony. I was 23 years old, and there was so much to learn, because at that age, 23, you know, there's people that have been in this orchestra for my entire lifetime already, and I'm walking in, I'm like, oh, what do I have to say? And I'm reminding you all that we all have a blank slate when we walk into these environments. If you walk into it humbly, then people are very likely to listen and be willing to take on your opinions as well, and your leadership and your guidance. From there, I went under the Charlotte Symphony. I was principal trumpet there for almost 2 years. During that time, I continued doing music festivals. I could go on an entire tangent of music festivals, but even while I was playing principal in the Charlotte Symphony, I actually got to go abroad to the Pacific Music Festival, and started to fall in love with travel very quickly at a young age. So that's something that's been driving me from the get-go. From there, I went on to the associate principal trumpet position of the Atlanta Symphony and got to be in a section with Tom Hooten, who's has been one of my mentors in my life. At that time, it was beautiful to watch him as a leader. I got to see how he would divide the parts in the section. I got to see how he would lead with grace and also with musicality from that principal position. During that time, I actually also won principal trumpet of the Santa Fe Opera, and now that was its own beautiful ride. Opera is, it's a roller coaster. Sometimes it's a 90-minute roller coaster when it's something like Wozzeck, and sometimes it's a 4.5-hour adventure when it's something more like Wagner. So the experience was much different than being on stage because you're in a pit, but the challenges are different. So moving on, after 3 years of playing with the Atlanta Symphony, I won the principal trumpet position of the St. Louis Symphony and have held that position for the last 10 years until just recently, where I've decided to actually be a little bit more impassioned with other styles of music and adventure and travel, and truly just developing all the different skills that I've gained along the way. So that's the quick background of what I'm doing right now, and I'm here to talk to you about many topics. And I'm going to bring this back up for anyone else that is, anyone else need this for the last moment here? I'll take one more second, especially the people that I know are listening online. We all set? I see a couple more people taking pictures of it. Scan coding it, it's a little hard. There's also the website at the top, if for some reason the QR code's not working. I'm going to move on. All right, so let's start. How are we really feeling, right? It's the end of a 3-day, or it's close to the end of a 3-day weekend here. Why are we off the screen a little bit? I think that's okay. So how are we feeling today? Yeah, keep going, guys. This is a lot of feeling. A lot of feelings are coming up. Aww. I think I saw a sleigh in there. Yeah. Look at that. Look at the one that's sitting in the middle. I'm enjoying this.
You can be tired, inspired, and exhausted.
Yes, you can. And actually, in part, this is what we're here to talk about today. All these types of feelings that we share around music. Tired, inspired, grateful. I still like sleigh. I really love it. Yeah. I know so many people that have been slaying it this weekend. What are we talking about? We're singing pretty decent. Yeehaw! Overwhelmed. I understand that one. Motivated, inspired. Great. Thank you for all this feedback. And thanks for being so honest. We're going to move on, because I would like you guys to choose what this masterclass is about today. I have 5 topics. The first one is auditioning. Having won 6 auditions in my life, I'm happy to talk about that process. Number 2, injury, retraining, rebalancing, and recovery. 4, non-classical career paths. And then 5 is I have 3 people that have signed up to perform today, so I'm happy to, in whatever order we decide that we settle on, this is the direction that we're going to take this class. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes. I feel like we need a Jeopardy time clock right now. Yeah. Is that the right pitch, Terry? All right. Ooh. Oh, I feel like we're watching one of those, you know, those carnival games where you're shooting the water, like the little guys going across. All right, managing performance anxiety. Everyone got their votes in. All right, and I'm going to assume that the people online have done the same. Wonderful. Oh, this is so exciting. I feel like I'm like in my ready pose. Like, all right, what is it that we're going to... Okay, so we're going to start by talking about managing performance anxiety. I'm going to try my best to get to all of these topics today, but I wanted to do this in an order in which was most useful for the room. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to leave this up on the screen so I can remind myself what order that we're going to be going in. All right. Where do I begin? So most of us have had the experience of performing this weekend. And we're probably right now reviewing what we're about to perform or what our experiences have already been this weekend. And I like to equip myself with a couple tools, and some of them, in my opinion, are better developed off stage. It's perfect that you're sitting right in front of the class here. We have some former students in the room that may have heard some of these topics, but I'm happy to see or happy to hear them again. So we're going to start off with, I have about 7, 8 different categories that I'm going to break this down into. And they're just small topics and they're ideas. Maybe it will plant a seed inside. Maybe one of these will call you more than the other. And some of them you might giggle at. But most importantly, when I'm describing these, I'd love you to do your best to create the imagery as it's coming. So here we go. We're going to start with number 1, safe boundaries. So typically, when we're in a performance setting, we have our fight or flight response, right, in our body. And safety in that moment is most important. That's what our body needs. So we have to convince ourselves that we're safe because that is what's triggering this response in our body. And so at first, try and close your eyes. I'm going to have you close your eyes a couple times throughout this because the imagery is what's most important for your body to believe it. I want to imagine, close your eyes. Imagine that there is a sphere around you. And all of the positive energy can come in, and all the positive energy can go out. And anything negative stays outside of that sphere, especially while you're on stage. Keep your eyes closed. Number 2. I like to call this a success log or a highlight reel. When we're performing, the left brain likes to have a lot of chatter. And so what I'd like to do right here is replace that story with a past success of yours. So we're going to take a moment, and I want you to develop a memory in its most vivid state of a success. It could be something like, honestly, right in this moment, the one that I'm loving is Terry, expressing his gratitude. That's a beautiful memory for me. I can pull a big one. It might feel a little bit like winning the St. Louis Symphony job when I walked on stage. And they told me, welcome home. It could be deciding when I go into the practice room, I have one goal, and it's to walk out feeling as though I have achieved that goal. It can be as large or as simple as possible, but take one moment. Imagine what it felt like to receive that. And I want you to imagine that you could be super old school. We're burning this onto a CD, or we're making a mixtape of all of these reels. And so we can open your eyes now in this moment. When you're on stage and you're feeling the pressures that this career can put on us sometimes, I want you to try and replace that in that moment. Our brain starts to spiral, and you can watch it much like in meditation. We imagine a cloud is that it's just going by in the sky, and we can let it pass. And we're going to replace it with this memory. And the more your body believes it, the more calm will come from that. In performance, this is number 3, we give energy to the room. We don't wait for it to hit us, right? We walk in the room. I mean, I'm even in this moment doing it, right? I'm working, all the things that we're talking about right now, I'm doing right now. I promise you. You know, it's an interesting feeling to talk to nearly 100 people in a room and maybe more online. But managing these moments are the challenges, and I know all of you can walk away with some tools today that will help. Gratefulness is number 4. We're not all given a stage. So think about how lucky you are when you're given that stage, that moment. I feel like I have one right now. I have a moment to connect with people. Each one of you most likely had a moment this weekend. It's Monday, my gosh. Think about how lucky you are. Can you imagine how that changes that moment for you? I'm lucky to have experienced just recently traveling through Central America through the American Music Abroad program, and I experienced many people in Honduras and Costa Rica through that program that don't have these stages. And it's sometimes hard to imagine because we're in music schools and they exist everywhere and all the time. But it's not all the time, and it's not for everyone. So please try and remember that. This next one, number 5, and really believe this, because I've been on audition panels, I've listened to tapes. Everyone is actually on your side. People want you to do well. Those judges want to hear you do well. Not out of pressure, but out of wanting to experience this beautiful musical moment with you as well. It's likely that you're the person that's the biggest critic in the room. Number 6, you can only be who you are and where you are today. There's no magical moment in which we all have it all figured out. So you got to work with what you have that day. Might be that you have a cold. It might be that the alarm didn't go off. Man, they ran out of bacon at breakfast. Whatever it might be. No apologies. Because if you start by apologizing, think about how many people like to give a quick preface. Well, I just, I was late for the bus today, but here goes. Just delete it, yeah? Just stand up and believe in yourself in that moment. Because we are all always improving. Number 7. This one's really basic. You ready? Breathe. Do we often forget that moments before? Or how about even in the moment, right? I will own having my moments on NTC stages that feel like that. I've shared them with all of you. And the last one, authenticity is way more important than perfection. In music, we are sharing a message. We are sharing our heart. We are exchanging emotions. There's plenty of room to come down if you need to sit, by the way. Don't feel shy. That's one of my favorite statements. Because often we sit in these practice rooms endlessly. I even almost, it's like I stutter to say the word, but perfecting, if you will, our craft. But you have to remember when you're on stage, that's the moment, right? That's the moment to deliver your most authentic self and to let all of those other nagging things melt away. So hopefully one of those things is something that you'll take away with you and remember, either for your performances this afternoon, which I'm looking forward to hearing, or in your future performances, because there's no doubt that all of you have what it takes to be a performer. I mean, congratulations for being here, seriously. I really want you guys give yourselves an applaud. I mean it. This is kind of fun, huh? Yeah. All right, moving on. You guys want to talk about injury, retraining, rebalance, and recovery. This is fun. So the reason I say that is this is going to be a challenge for me. I have actually never spoken to a room yet about injury. This is it. This is the first time I'm going to talk about it. So I'm really curious to see what you guys want to talk about. I have some topics here. But first, actually, I think I'm going to start with this. Pushing yourself as growth versus to the point of injury is a tough balance, right? Because, again, as I was just talking, I have also been the person that has spent hours and hours in dance classes, classrooms with giant mirrors and the very specific practice room that I like to practice in at Northwestern, reserving this, reserving that, and endlessly trying to get on top of practicing and never quite feeling caught up, right? And there's also a culture around injury, which there's a taboo, and there's a lot of negative talk about injury. And at the same time, what really breaks my heart is that it's just as hard to be that person that's going through that in that moment, right? So first off, what you have to tackle is the psychology behind this. And I'm not a psychologist, but what I'm here to share is what I've learned in this process. And the first one, you have to repeat after me. You ready for this one? And you can fill in whatever instrument, and you'll know what I mean by it. I am not a trumpet player. I am not a trumpet player. I am a person who plays the trumpet. Ready? I am a person who plays the trumpet. One more time. I am not. Yes, there you go. It is separate from you, right? It is not who you are, right? And that can get so mixed up, especially when it comes to injury. And there's an entire process to get over if it's too close. And we have to go through all the stages of grief then, because it's who we are instead of something separate. Sorry, I just hit my, instead of something separate from who we are. You do not possess your abilities to play the trumpet. They're still separate from you. You are not the skill. Think about, quick poll. How many people have played a sport? Yeah, okay, hands down. How many people know someone that's been injured from a sport? Right. And no one even had a hard time raising their hand about that, right? There's almost no taboo or shame around athletes who are making slight bit more than orchestral musicians. And I think it's a really interesting topic in that. From what I see on sports teams, when someone's injured, they show up in all their gear, they show up with their crutches, and they're sitting on the bench. No one's shaming them for sitting on the bench because they're showing up and they're still part of the team. And everyone makes them feel as though they're still part of the team. So the reason I'm saying this is because I really think it needs to be part of our culture as well in music. I mean that. Please do not contribute to that culture of negative talk around injury. because it's overcomable, but we all have to help each other in that. So, thank you. If you could take out your phones. We've got a quick poll for you. Thank you for the giggles. I have dealt with an injury in my music career. Yes, no, or if I told you, I'd have to kill you. I'm going to just wait a moment here. Wow. Okay. Well, it's kind of fun because the people here, there's 25-ish people, 6, we're still going, of people that are going to learn how to support. And there's 67 people that need support in this room. 5 people that we're going to say we probably could lump them in the yes category. Thanks for being so honest. I really appreciate it. There's a reason we use this poll today, because I know that it's difficult to talk about. Admittedly, it was hard for me to even sign up to have this conversation in this masterclass and own that I've been in actually 2 car accidents over the course of my career that has caused quite a bit of trauma to my trumpet playing. And I have gone through a long process, which I sometimes like to call my sabbatical, in which I have educated myself to the best of my knowledge, because at the end of the day, you are still your own teacher, your own doctor, you're your own clinician, right? And so it is really up to you to learn the most you can, and you're here today to talk about that. So, actually, you know what I'm going to do real quick? Oh, none of these things. That one. So this is the audio. Has anyone heard of Brene Brown? Yeah? A few people in here? It's really wonderful to listen to her psychology. She talks about truths, and actually I have a quote from her here that I really enjoy. She says, "Belonging starts with self-acceptance. Your level of belonging, in fact, can never be greater than your level of self-acceptance, because believing that you're enough is what gives you the courage to be authentic, vulnerable, and imperfect. And we are all imperfect in our skills, but we are perfect in our person. We were all born perfect humans. You are no better or less for having abilities to play this instrument. So please remember that, including me." So I'm going to go on. I'm going to play this quick video. And this is to just highlight what I was saying about finding ways to support others through empathy.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, "I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed." And then we look and we say, "Hey, climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone." Sympathy is, "Woo, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich?" Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." I had it, yeah. And you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Yeah. I hope this is just the beginning of changing this culture, honestly. I hope we start to understand a little bit more about what our friends might be feeling and experiencing when you're going through something difficult, like an injury. I can't tell you how many times from my own experience, and I'll admit I probably have actually had a couple of them this weekend, where I maybe haven't seen someone in a little while, and how are you? Like, there's no other answer for me than to be disappointed that I'm currently not still sitting in the principal position of the St. Louis Symphony. There are so many other things to do in life, and hopefully we can talk about those in the career paths in just a minute. But I wanted to talk about quickly then, if it is that we're interested in hearing about this, my journey so far through my injury. Much like we should always approach others with curiosity, I have approached most all of my recovery and retraining with curiosity. It's interesting because there are all kinds of methods. And so when I started, I wanted to try everything, you know? Like the good student I am, I wanted to try 5 different methods of fixing whatever it was that felt imbalanced in my playing. You know? I realized quickly it was too much. I kind of had to actually take time on each one. I had to slow down. Brilliant, right? I first tried acupuncture, which is known to stimulate the central nervous system. It releases chemicals into the muscles, spinal cord, and brain, and those biochemical changes can stimulate the body's natural healing abilities. I also tried cranial sacral massage, which is an alternative treatment which gives relief from tension on the spinal cord and head, which is kind of your largest resonating space when playing the trumpet. If anyone actually attended Dr. Brody's class yesterday, we would actually learn that there's many ways to free up our bodies and find better balance. If you didn't catch that, I would highly recommend checking that out on the replay on NTC's website. And I know there's also some couple scholars in the room here. Brienne Board is in here. Yoga is another beautiful way to start to listen to your body. I actually had to take a course on compassion for myself. After being in the industry for 15 years, and then back up 6 years of schooling, and then back up 4 years of high school training, and back up 2 more years of middle school training, right? That's a lot of years built up of having a myopic view of what it is that I wanted to do. Doing this compassion work made me realize the number of times that I had overridden my body's responses out of finding something that I thought was better. If we don't listen to our bodies and rest when they're telling us to, you might not get that choice at some point, honestly. Moving on, I actually worked with several clinicians that I'd love to share with you that I did not know anything about most of them. and had to learn either from Googling or calling friends or, and honestly, some of that was even felt like a secretive process. Finding out who even has dealt with injury in such a professional space. And so I first actually flew to, backing up. The one thing that I remember through all of my research, and it felt as though there was one common denominator for all of these clinicians. It was that your sound is directly connected to the freedom of your air. That is the producer of sound. And I actually believe that. And as soon as we disrupt that airflow, you will hear it in your sound. And so most of these clinicians were helping me find the spots that I was either holding air or compressing air or finding ways that were opposite than the freedom of just letting it go from your body, which is something that we all naturally do every day. I flew to Spain, Madrid, and I worked with Professor Joaquin Fabra, who, in my opinion, is probably best known for his psychology. I have a couple quotes here that I think are poignant. The first one is, a mistake is a fact, right? I think we can all agree. It's just something that happened, right? You are the one that decides if it's good or bad. You are the one that labels it thumbs up, thumbs down, right? Why don't we just decide that that is a learning point? That is a point that we can now, great, oh, sweet, a tool. I can go back to my practice room now and work on this. But if I've already decided it's bad, it makes it so hard for the body and the brain to want to work on something like that. It loses the momentum, right? Another quote from him. Don't be cautious, have a vision. When have you ever approached something cautiously and it turned out better? Right? I think that's something, and he said, have a vision. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about, having clear visions of how to exist in space. What is it that I want? It's so easy. I was actually just talking to Bill Stoneman about this at breakfast. It's so easy to perform, and actually I'm kind of giving this away because I love to use this if people are going to be performing this afternoon. The first question that you ask yourself when you put your trumpet down is it, oh, I missed that, blah, 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 I missed this, oh man, that high note, and I couldn't get that at the very end, damn. Yeah, but like, what was the point of what I just played? Like, what was the actual message behind the music that I was performing? And it's beautiful because there's so many studies like either Conconi lyrical etudes, or honestly, the reason that I was talking to Bill is because he has a new poetry and songbook. And the poetry is supposed to inform the song in its emotion. And I feel that almost every piece of music has a story like that. And if we can let that guide us, that is going to guide you to health, I promise. Moving on, I worked with another clinician in Toronto, Canada. His name was Dr. Joaquin Farias. For me, I walked away with lots of very specific exercises. He is well known for his neuroplastic movement therapy. So for me, what I enjoyed most is learning from a scientific standpoint that we can continue to learn for the rest of our lives. It's been proven. You can continue to adapt and you can continue to change. So don't ever feel like you've either learned everything or that you can't continue to improve. Just know that that's an actual fact. And then where I spent most of my time was in Western New York with Jan Kagris and Landon Gray. They both work out of Musicians Wellness of North America. I've spent countless hours with these folks. They're patient, kind, compassionate people because they know that they're dealing with something that's close to most of your hearts when you're a performer. and mostly what I learned from them is what I kind of wanted to title this class, which was the art of letting go. And to do only what's needed and nothing else in order to create sound. There's so many beautiful sports analogies that we could talk about, and I'm sure people have read The Inner Game of Tennis and the probably different golf methods, and I know NASCAR driving is similar to these types of mindsets that we have to endure while we're performing. But if you're thinking more about how the racket is going back, aka how we're inhaling, where's the ball? That's where the real focus is. How am I going to learn how the center of this racket, which is an extension of my body, much like the trumpet is an extension of your body, how am I going to let my body learn something if every time it tries to learn, I get it in the way by giving it a cue? Right? So we went through lots of different training, actually off my trumpet. I spent countless hours. Jan Kagras has a beautiful method where she trains you, whether it's on a lead pipe or it's on an extended straw. Depending on your instrument, the width of the straw is different. But she has methods in which you can start to learn how to move your air off the instrument, because when it's on the instrument and you have an injury, sometimes it's too close. It's too close to retrain because neurologically, they sometimes can get wired together, and it's hard to get it apart. And so she would train me on these methods where I could hear on these pipes or straws the exact resonance that I'm going to have on the instrument when I bring it to what she calls the silver straw, which is my trumpet, right? To get a little nerdy here for a second, and I want to call upon NTC from 2011. There's a video online that I highly recommend. I'm not going to play it. That was the only video I'm going to play for you today. But it's John Harbaugh. And if you look it up, it's called Trumpet Physics #1 on YouTube. And he talks about two different principles. One, which is basically Newton's cradle. It's the idea that your trumpet is filled with molecules already, and we're just moving those molecules. We do not have to create the energy. Those molecules already exist, and we just have to push them, right? They have to just be in motion with air. Think about how little effort that could actually be. And the second one, this is my favorite. Does anyone want to be, can we have a quick volunteer? Yeah. So imagining that these are your lips, okay? No tension here. I'm just holding them. So typically, and we're going to be talking, this is Bernoulli's principle, if anyone is super nerdy into these kinds of things. If I blow in between these two papers, what do you think is going to happen? A lot of people are smarter than I think they are. Yeah? Yeah, okay. Can you blow between these two pieces of paper? Actually, I will show you like that, okay? Holding them at the top here. Yep. Can you show these people over here? Do we see what happens when we're blowing? Thank you so much. I know, it's really basic. The reason I wanted to show you that is I swear I didn't understand the concept that if my lips are actually supple enough and there's air moving through them, they will just naturally come together and vibrate. How brilliant. Doesn't take any effort to actually do that, and it's part of physics. Beautiful. And so I believe that if we keep educating ourselves in these ways, I think that we're actually going to, as a whole, start to reduce the tension that we all build up in our playing. She likes to focus what she calls on focus of attention. I'm talking about Jan Kagras still. She calls FOA, which is focus of attention. Again, it has to do like swinging a tennis racket or a swimmer. Imagining, I'm not thinking about how, again, I'm going to pull. I'm thinking about what does my hand feel like in the water. And that's the same concept as how the air is releasing from your body. As it's releasing, what does it feel like? Think about that, not how I'm going to put my lips together. How am I going to create this embouchure? I'm feeling fluffy today. I'm feeling swollen from everything that I've experienced this weekend. I really love that. I write FOA on a lot of my solo repertoire because I really love focus. Like, where is my focus of attention right now in this moment? And if you quiz yourself, I feel like 9 times out of 10 it's in the wrong place anyway. So maybe that will be a good cue for you as well. And what I ultimately learned is that working hard at retraining on my trumpet is different than working hard like I used to. And that was a huge thing for me to learn. It used to feel like working endlessly at licks. It used to be working endlessly at expanding repertoire, range, articulation, and all of those things are important. But this type of retraining requires a whole bunch of patience and, to bring the word back around, compassion for yourself in the process. Because you can be your own enemy in this circumstance. If you can't have patience for yourself and compassion, then I truly believe it's hard for your body to heal in that environment because you're creating something hostile inside, actually. I'd like to walk you guys through a meditation if that feels like something. I don't even know I have no clue what time it is. We gotten through 1.5 topics, 12, 15? What time did I start? So I've been 45 minutes. All right, cool. So we got a little bit of time. All right, I'm going to sit down. I think we could all use this right now. Again, I don't consider myself a yogi. I appreciate all the different methodologies. First, I want you to feel the chair. Back to what Dr. Brody was talking about yesterday, and feel your balance within that chair. Rock a little bit forward and a little bit back. Find, as they call them in yoga, those sits bones. Feel that chair. Feel your feet resting on the ground, rooted. Find a comfortable position in your body. Typically, I would have music, but I think we've all had plenty of sound this weekend. So I'm going to choose some silence throughout this. I want you to slowly close your eyes or find a soft gaze. Again, what's most important in this moment that I'd like for you is to create the clearest picture as I walk you through these steps. I want to thank, this is a special thanks to Debbie Taylor. She's actually the one that brought this practice to me. She's the principal trombone player of the New Mexico Symphony. Now, take a quick scan. Where's your breathing at? Just being aware of where that's at right now. What is your heart rate? Where is that at? And slowly, I'm going to guide you from head to toe in small releases of your body. I often find that I have a large amount of tension in my forehead, so let's start there. I want you to focus of attention on your forehead. I want to inhale, and then exhale, release. That'll be your cue for each part. Your eyes. Your eyebrows. Your jaw. The tongue inside your mouth. Your lips. Your neck. your shoulders. Maybe even raise them up just slightly and then release them. Feel the weight of your arms and hands. Feel any tension in your chest and your heart. Slowly release it. Scan your abdominal region. Slowly feel any tension and then release. Your quads and your hamstrings, upper legs. Perhaps you want a slight tension and then release. Your calves, slight tension and then release. And finally, reminding your feet that they're firmly grounded. One final scan of your body. Do you feel tension in your hairline, in your ears? Where else? This is your moment to listen inwards. What else can be released? Be sure you're still breathing. It can feel natural, not forced. In this moment, what I'd like you to imagine is that you're walking across a field. What does that field look like? I want you to paint it. Does it look something like a desert? Does it look something lush, green, covered in trees? How large is this field? What does the breeze feel like on your skin? Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? This is your field. I want to imagine yourself slowly walking across this space. In the body that you just released into. And I want you to imagine that you see a staircase in the distance. We're going to still slowly walk across this field to that staircase. Imagine every bit. What does the grass or gravel feel like under your feet? And when you finally arrive at the top of that staircase, you look down. There's 10 flights of stairs. Let's take the escalator. How about that? Yeah? Let's slowly make our way down. I'm going to count you from 10 to 1. And I want you to imagine yourself descending. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. Be sure you're still breathing. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And what you don't know is that you have just arrived in a space that you can only describe by the comfort it brings you and by the safety that you feel in this space. It might look something like your bedroom. It might look like in the arms of a loved one. What is the most safe space that you can imagine, comforted in whatever way that you feel comfort? Paint the picture. Is it soft? Again, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? And now that we're in this safe space, released of all of our tensions, I want you to imagine yourself slowly picking up your instrument. Remind yourself that you're safe, you're comfortable, and you're loved. And I want you to imagine yourself performing. Maybe a piece that you performed this weekend. It might be envisioning what you're about to perform this afternoon or at a future concert. But imagine yourself with ease, effortless, with joy, with artistry. You're safe. Take a moment, hear about 30 seconds of that music. That was beautiful. At this moment, you can slowly put your instrument away. You're still in your safe space, comfort, compassion. We're going to slowly make our way back up the stairs. Slowly walk over to the entrance. We're going to rise back up to the field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maintain your breath. Still breathing with ease. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back open in that open field. We're remembering as we walk across this field the beauty and ease that came out of our artistry. how our body felt. Slowly open your eyes. Yeah, how does that feel, huh? Now imagine what it would feel like to perform from that state. And that took maybe 10 minutes. I feel like we can usually find about 10 minutes to ourselves before we step on stage. Give ourselves the best tool that we possibly can by checking in with our nervous system. Try to respect it. We're not in control of it. It has its flare-ups. But we have a beautiful student here in the front row that just shared with me that they used that exact meditation for one of their performances this week. We're happy to report that it was one of the more successful experiences they've had on stage. It's not my tool. Someone gave it to me to give to you. I hope that you will share it also. I'm not done talking. But I did want to walk you through that as an additional tool that I've used many times. If you have a moment in a green room, in a practice room, in a bathroom stall, wherever you can find privacy, because I know that it's intense in these spaces, but do that for yourself. And report back to me, because I would love to hear if it's some small thing, because actually that one story really changed some of my pedagogical techniques for even today. So thank you. Let's move on. Now that we're so chill. How could we possibly? All right. Computer. All right. So let's go back to, where were we? We already did the feeling today. All right. Non-classical career paths. Oh man, this room feels so chill. I love this. So glad I don't have to talk about auditioning right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So the thing I want to remind everyone, because I don't think I respected this enough when I was a little bit younger. Give yourself a chance to not have it figured out all right now. You know? Because when you decide it only goes one way, then it's so hard to listen to all the other things that are calling you, whether it's in music or different interests and passions that you have. They're all worth it. They're all worth an exploration. Even though I'm proud of what my body has done and what I can still do, I think I knew quickly. After all of my retraining, and this is a really honest part of this, after all my retraining, and I returned back to the orchestra for about 6 months, I had to do a check-in. I had to see how it was actually resonating in my body. And with all honesty, it just wasn't resonating the same way anymore. It felt a little more tense in my body, and I had to respect that. There are different ways that I was suffering that were hard to describe to other people, hard to share, but I'll give you a little bit of vulnerability since you all showed up today, but I've definitely experienced anxiety. I don't even need to take a poll. I've experienced depression. These are real things along the way. Some of it are things that we have to experience and that we will grow from and learn from. but just that reminder how you can support other people in those times when you maybe don't know that they're actually going through that as well. I do feel lucky that throughout my schooling that I was also encouraged to try all the things. A fun story, I don't know how many people know Ethan Bensdorf. He's one of my good buds. He's in the New York Phil. Yeah, we went to school together. But I remember I was really interested in audio engineering when I was younger. And, you know, I actually got into sort of gigging by recording people's recitals for them. I didn't really know what I was doing, honestly. I was learning though, and I was giving myself the opportunity to try it. I was gonna be at the recital anyway, and now I have a copy of Ethan Bensdorf's senior recital still. No, it's great. I found inspiration in it as well. There's so many, we can learn so much from our colleagues. But I'm glad along the way that I allowed myself the learning moments and to listen to those passions. Since then, actually, I would say mostly because during the pandemic, I studied audio engineering at Webster University, which is in St. Louis. I found myself, I said, okay, cool, I want to learn this thing. And just like everything I've done in my life, I found myself a mentor. And I've been working with, his name's Carl Napa. He's most known for engineering for Nelly, who is based out of St. Louis. He was brought from New York City's Hit Factory to St. Louis to start the Extreme Institute, and it's been really cool to just pick and choose mentors. That's been a really fun thing, and I highly recommend this as a great place to do that. If you see someone doing something that you like, whether it's a colleague or another professional, find a way to connect. And we all know there's so many ways to connect right now, right? Through social medias. But, you know, I actually believe just recently I've got to experience what the culmination of all of the different musical experiences in my life have been. I was joking with Terry, I took a conducting class while I was at BU. I've learned some score reading, right? I've been a performer. I know what it's like to be a soloist. I know what it's like to be live on the radio. And I've now learned the skills over 2 years of audio engineering and mixing and mastering and producing. And just recently, actually was on the Pershing Zone, who we all heard last night. I was on their Army base just 2 weeks ago, working with Seraph Brass, which is an all-women's brass quintet. If you don't know them, totally check them out. I'm going to be producing, in part, their album that's coming up recently. And can I tell you how cool it was to sit in what felt like, you know, like this is the cockpit of the entire experience. There's an engineer in front of you. I have Tony DiLorenzo on my left because they're world premiering a band arrangement, which is for brass quintet, a concerto for brass quintet in front of band. And I got to use all of the audio skills, you know, and for the nerds, like how I was going to face all the directional microphones, how I was going to capture each one of their sounds. Do I want reflective sounds or do I want isolated sounds? Man, that part was cool. But then I got to talk to Mary. How's it feel? You know, how's the speed of this production going? You know, getting that feedback. Talking to Tony. Tony's the one that's, you know, maybe listening. I don't have perfect pitch. I'll own that part. Listening to all of the minute details and maybe any of the errata that show up. But for the most part, getting to do a lot of the directing of how this ship was going to move. And man, that was just as exhilarating, I promise you, as playing a Mahler symphony. I enjoyed it equally. And I believe that all of you have passions inside of you that can also be outside of playing a Mahler symphony. Not that I'm even suggesting that everyone in this room wants that. You know, from a geeky standpoint too, we've probably all done a lot of ear training when it comes to just musical ear training. And a lot of that's based on intervallic learning. So, you know, we're learning scalar, how far, you know, steps are. And in technical ear training for audio engineers, there's an entire new realm of where you can put your brain, yeah? They're called frequency bands, you know, and you can actually train this much like solfege. And so if you're into learning skills, there are so many other ways that you can be skilled. I won't go too far into that, but it's essentially learning to how to identify characteristics within those frequency bands. Kind of like if someone had you know, one of these spotlights and they put a color filter in front of it, you'd be able to tell. We're kind of at this point, you know, assuming that we can all see color, and that's an assumption in this moment, but putting a blue color filter on and being able to determine, oh, that's blue. But when it's an audio filter or it's a frequency band, your ear would be able to determine which frequency is popping out or being taken away, cut from that. And that's another whole world that I didn't even know existed. And so being excited and listening to yourself when your inner child gets excited about learning something. So listening to yourself, again. I've also gone on, I've never stopped performing the entire time. And I'm not even talking about the trumpet. My whole life, I've actually been really interested. Ready for this? I've always wanted to be a rock star. For real. And yeah, and I love the laugh, and it is kind of funny, but it's kind of true. I am in the process, I'm also a singer and songwriter. I play the guitar, and I write my own music. And during the pandemic, because I had the ability to run a recording studio, and I had one within a mile of my house, I got to be in the console room, and my drummer, who is of the St. Louis Symphony, was in the live room. And we didn't even have to be in the same room to write music for endless hours. We were gifted so much time to write music. And I fell in love with that too. That's been really fun for me. Actually, my band, Queen Kiddo, has an EP coming out in about a month and a half and a music video that I've actually helped produce as well. So much fun. Keep playing, I promise. It's more enjoyable than you think. I've already hinted at this, and you're actually seeing some of my stage wear. I recently was just on a tour with Gina Chavez, who's a Latin artist. She's a queer artist that's based out of Austin. And I think what's beautiful about doing something with Gina, for me, and why I signed up for it, is she's also an ambassador in so many ways. She's Catholic, but also queer. And I feel like sometimes those two cultures actually don't always connect. And it's been beautiful to watch how she straddles both of those spaces. And I noticed that I've been doing that also in audio and music as well recently, and that's been fun. But surrounding yourself with people who you believe in their message is something that has also been inspiring for me. The American Music Abroad program, by the way, is the program that I was just on tour with. We were on tour for 30 days in Central America. It started in Honduras, and we worked our way through Costa Rica as well. And it was a songwriting workshop, and I got to go to underprivileged areas of those countries and share music. And can I tell you the amazing purpose that I felt from that? You know, so fulfilling to be on stage for 15 years in an orchestra. But can I tell you, sharing music with someone that has never experienced American music ever in their life is just incredible. And next level is some people show up in environments where they're surrounded, and this is just being real. There are some people that are living in areas of the country that are governed by gangs, and it's really unsafe in certain areas. And these kids that would sign up for these master classes, maybe 30 would be signed up, and 8 would show up, and we would still give a songwriting workshop. And some of them we learned eventually showed up just because there was a sandwich at the end. And there is something really powerful about sharing music with people that you don't speak their language, you know nothing, you can't know their culture until you live in it. So know that there's more purpose to music than what we tend to put our focus on, right? And then finally, I really enjoy creating community, and I've continued to do that in St. Louis. I still live in St. Louis and probably will for a while. I've grown to create several series of artist communities in collaboration. I've always been interested in hosting salons in my house, kind of like old school style, and collecting artists around town. There are incredible artists everywhere. You just have to talk to some people. And as soon as I got to talking, I met some folks, and eventually that grew, and hosted actually even some musicians that were in town performing with the St. Louis Symphony at the time. We had cocktail artists, we had handpan players, we had interpretive dancers, there was poetry, there was gratitude practice, there was looping guitars, and the feeling inside the room of everyone putting their art together and being inspired and testing out their edges of their art forms, whether it's a new thing that they're trying, or for me, I brought my band and we were trying acoustic sets. So I was trying acoustic music with cajon and a song that I hadn't performed in that format before, and that felt really purposeful in that moment. But truly, continuing to expand in these cross-genre ways reminds us that we're artists. We're not just we're not trumpet players, remember. We're people that play the trumpet. And you know, I don't know that I need to repeat this to anyone, but I've heard this statistic over and over again. I don't know who started it, but as far as I know, it's harder to get into an orchestra than it is to get into the NBA, right? So I think it does all of us well. Also, having just experienced something pretty traumatic, which is a global pandemic. It really kind of knocked, I think, a lot of us on our butts a little bit when we realized that if we don't have an audience, right, we're not always given an audience. We're not always given a stage. That we might have other skills that we can develop in the process. And listening to yourself along the way, man, that's where the fire comes from. All right, I think I'm going to move on. I have to do this every time. All right, so we have auditioning and live coaching. What time is it? Do we have a time on this? 46, right? So we have 15 minutes. I would actually like to invite some people up to perform because I think it would be, I apologize, I know we have auditioning on there, but I feel like I've talked enough. I would really love to hear if anyone is still interested in playing today. Are you still interested? Yeah, do you want to play? Okay, cool. Thank you so much for everyone that's listened along the way. I actually would love, while we're getting through this, if y'all are interested, yeah, I appreciate this. Yeah, that's hopefully, you don't want to, okay, cool. If anyone wants to follow along with what I'm continuing to do, feel free to follow me on Instagram. I post most all of the adventures that I'm getting myself into on that right now, whether it's on my story or on my timeline. And here we have.
My name is Amani.
Yeah?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. This is, I feel like this is planted, but it's not. Amani and I actually worked together through the Atlanta Symphony. What was the program? Do you want to tell them just a tiny?
It was called the Talent Development Program, and so I taught myself the trumpet, and then I got to a place where people were noticing I could play, and I auditioned for a program, and I ended up getting free lessons, and Karin was one of my first ever teachers.
She was little.
I was little, and it was the best year of my life.
Aww.
And this was when she had like a smaller house in Atlanta, and so my mom would sit on the sofa and watch our entire lesson. And at the age of like 13, 14, I'm like, Jesus, this sucks. But no, I owe a lot.
But thanks to Mom, we have a really cute picture of the two of us on your last recital. Yes, we do. Maybe we'll have to post that at some point. What are you going to play for us today?
I'm going to play just a little bit of night songs.
Beautiful. Does everyone know Peasley's Night Songs? Who's performed it? Yeah? Highly recommended. I put this on so many recitals. Feels great to play on a recital. Some flugel action on there too.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, and it's compelling. All right, please. Maybe I can cut you off,
Please,
if that's right. Okay, cool.
I'll just play the first little bit. First little lyric section.
All right, cool.
was kind of great. I was taking so long.
So let's talk about some of the techniques that you used that we were talking about in the early part of the class. How was that for you?
It was okay. I was definitely nervous. I haven't played for you in a long time, so I'm like, you do good.
You gotta do good. It's all good. Were you able to use any of the methods that we were talking about a little bit
So I
earlier?
thought about the aura. I thought about like creating a sphere around
Yeah.
myself, only positive things and leaving the negative things out. And also the meditation helped
Yeah.
because I also have a lot of anxiety. So just to relax and chill, and I'm a person that plays the trumpet.
Yeah. I love that. Yes, thank you. A+ in your response. Great. So obviously this is a beautiful lyrical opening. We're trying to captivate the listener right away in this. How would you call the mood? What would you describe it?
Mysterious.
Mysterious. I think that's a great word. And now, so what you can't see right here is there's all kinds of long phrase markings. And I think what I would love you to imagine is that phrase marking is the exact path for your airstream the entire time, right? So we're not focusing on how am I going to get through each one of those. We're going to be focusing on, as if you're driving a car, we're going to drive it at a very specific speed the entire time. We're not going to let up in between each change. If anything, we're going to slightly lean into either a turn or whatever it is that you want to describe it as. And so the only other thing that I would recommend in this moment, for me, if I was performing in this space, I understand you're not really warmed up and that kind of experience, but the only thing that you can do for yourself before you're creating sound is move air. So can we go through like 1 or 2 air streams through your horn? First, off the horn. I do this, honestly, since we're not talking about auditioning, and I'm happy to talk about it for hours if anyone really does want to stick around. But I think for me, I always have to be sure because if my airstream is already like this, how is it that I'm going to get an even tone out? How is it that I'm going to get that sound out? So I have to take a moment to find a way to settle that airstream because it's much like a bow, right? It is the sound that is going to translate, right? So can we go through? I just want you to naturally, I'm not going to even cue you, actually just like releasing air, and it doesn't have to be in a way that's resisted. Right? Now imagining that is this line, right? And every time you're changing a note, we're not thinking about the movement of the vowels, we're thinking about how do I keep my air moving through that change, okay? Let's hear it one more time. I'm probably just going to do the opening phrase, okay? And as we go, one last thing to cue, don't feel as though you have to play incredibly soft. I know this room is kind of dry, but you're still a soloist, and I think sometimes we forget when we're soloists, it's a singular voice, right? And so naturally it's softer because it's only one. And so don't feel, again, we're not going to play cautiously, right? In this moment. We're going to let go of all caution. No one's here to judge you. Everyone here wants you to do well, right? Do we all want this to sound freaking awesome, right? So, all right, take a breath and go for it. Move that air first. When I audition, before I'm about to play an excerpt, I always do an airstream. Yes, thank you. Yes. Keep going. We're going to keep moving if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have one more person that we can get in before the end of this sequence? Yeah, thank you so much, Imani. Anyone else? Do we have another person? I felt like there was. Yeah, awesome. Sorry for making me wait so long. That's just how they voted, though, right? I didn't choose this. All right, can you tell us about yourself and what you're going to be playing today?
I'm Jasmine. I'm from Messiah University, and I'm going to play a little bit of the Boats of Caprice.
Who's played the Boats of Caprice? Yeah, cool. Who likes the Boats of Caprice? Yeah! I think it's great. Okay, awesome. Let's enjoy. So maybe just take a moment. Just take a moment to yourself. Yeah, choose like one tool and see if you can try and implement that in this moment. Nice job. Okay, wonderful. So we've got some fanfares at the beginning. Something that I love that Terry's around when I get to talk about these things, because I do talk about him, whether he knows it or not. I love the Kenny Entrada, I think is the moment that I notice, and I think is probably pretty applicable to this opening. We have some characters, right, in the room. We've got some fanfares. And whereas I don't necessarily always suggest all kinds of wild movements, there are different characters that you can embody in this moment. That first, right? So instead of it being, here it is and here it is, it's just like, nah, here are the two characters right from the get-go, right? I'm telling you a story almost like Scheherazade. I'm bringing you in and about to tell you a story, right? So can we hear that opening just like that? Whatever that means to you. Great. And now the only thing that I want you to imagine is they're both within the same airstream. I know that there's a lift, but they're still in the same phrase, right? Is there a way that can happen so they feel more connected? So we're not going to let go of the momentum that we've already created. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. That was step one. And the other thing that I noticed, and this is something I think we all forget. I've played this piece, but it's been a little while. And when I see all of these, so what are these? This is the 16th, these are 30 seconds, right? Sometimes they just go by so fast, right? And as a listener, we're maybe not even ready for them to go by that fast. But we see all these black lines and we're like, I gotta go by really fast. And what I would love to see is you to maybe like lean into a little bit Lengthen that phrase just a tiny bit. Find some type of rubato in that so you don't feel as though you have to just speed through the phrase, right? Again, this is more of a cue, and I want to see what you do with it. And if that's all right, can we start from there? Yes, one more time. Gorgeous. Nice, and now go through the phrase. Bring us all the way to the end of the phrase. The same way that we did at the beginning, right? To recall what we did. Yeah, nice. Great. I'm going to probably move on, but what I wanted to do was exactly that, and you nailed it, actually. You're showing character so quickly, and your ability to adapt is impressive. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
You.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're technically out of time. Do we want to hear one more person? Yeah, do we have time for one more? If not, I think, yeah, we have shaking some heads. Yeah, I know, everyone's a little bit tired. We got like 10 more minutes? 5, 10? Okay, cool, one more person. Awesome. Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
Good to see you. Do you want to introduce yourself and what you're going to play today? Which I highly recommend everyone do if you're going to be performing for a room that you don't know. Thank you. Third movement, cool. Oh, fun. I know what we're going to play and you don't.
Hello, my name is Parker Bruce. I'm a senior at McGill University. I study with Richard Stozel and Rob Wayne.
Nice. What are you playing for us today?
I'll be playing the third movement of the Waive Sonata, probably just the first little bit.
Wonderful. Sounds good. Yeah, please do. And so what I'm cueing, just so that you know from the side, I'm cueing these people to try one of the techniques that we were learning today. Is there a way, would you mind describing which one you might have used?
Just like the breathing.
The breathing? Yeah, so just breathe. That's what you use, the simple one. I like it. All right, you ready? Are you like barely? Okay, okay, here we go. Nice job. We're going to stop there. Who has played the Oazen Sonata? Yeah. Who has met Eric Oazen? What a jolly guy, right? He's such a nice dude. I love him. You can hear it in his music too. It's beautiful. Nice playing. I enjoyed it. Okay, so can you share with us what you tried to adapt to this performance that maybe you learned today?
Yeah, something that I sort of struggle with is the idea of like the safe space. Just because like, I don't know, this is a room full of trumpet players.
Yeah, do you want to ask if they're rooting for you? Who's rooting for Parker?
It's not that I didn't think you were.
Oh!
It's just everyone knows, like, sort of knows the piece, knows
Yeah.
how to play the instrument.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
feels like you're playing for like your parents. They
Yeah.
sort of don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
It feels, you know, there's an air of like, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing that part. Great. So from the get-go, I would love to hear a nice, solid first note. Just one note. Just like if you're about to start it and you're about to continue, but just play that first note. All All right, cool. A little bit more core to that sound. Yeah, great. There we go, right? And I'm telling you, we've talked a little bit about it today, but that sound is your guide, And so if we're not getting that, for me, my immediate response is that it's slightly overblown, right? For where you're set at. So let's listen to that quality sound and let everything build from there. So let's take the opening lick just a little bit slow if you don't mind, but I want it to start with that beautiful core sound. And that's where it's going to blossom out of. Cool, a little faster. Cool, and now slur it. Now articulate. Great, all right, cool. Now those two opening phrases. 3. Cool, great. And I also want really great internal time, because what we don't know is if that internal time isn't clicking, our body doesn't know how to react. It can't actually fall in line with what it naturally does. So from this, you don't have a piano in this moment, I understand. So it might have to come from you, which is what we have to create when we're auditioning as well, right? We have to hear everything that's happening and join it. So one more time. Let's hear those subdivision. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Keep going. Keep going. The air. Cool, nice job. Much improved. I think the quality of the sound is great. Look at all this applause. You play for a couple of minutes, and it was like, it's like you're a trumpet player or something. You play like 8 measures, and someone applauds for you. What I think the one thing that I would probably also add is I'm hearing breaths in most of the rests. Yeah. And so I think in a moment where we're feeling maybe a little bit more heightened, right, in our excitement, if you will. And I'm probably driving a little bit of that. I apologize if I am. Imagining there's a bunch of small crescendos that are happening. And even though I think they're written in an intentional way, I still think it's a longer gesture than what's being played. I also think there's a pitch thing. I think it's maybe the E flat. Can we hear these first few notes here? There's a chance you're hitting a B natural steady. Yeah, okay. Terry, help me. There we go. I knew there was one in there. Great, so there was just a small error there. You got that. And so what I'd like to hear is from 14 to the rests, if you don't mind. I might have just dropped that first bit. Sorry. And so what's the intention while we're going to pick up the instrument and do something, having a goal. What's the goal right now?
I think doing more horizontal phrasing.
Horizontal phrasing, I agree. And we're not going to, even if there's a rest, I think often we think that's the time to breathe. It's not always. Sometimes we have to work to create phrasing past those marks so that we can pull the listener in for just a moment longer before we let them go. Yes. So back up 4 measures. I want right here. This is very similar to what you had going on here. What I noticed that you're changing right now, I don't know if anyone else can hear this, the ends of his phrases, he's allowing them to be continued. He's allowing them to sound as though the phrase is continued. And I think that's the small adjustment that's being made. And we almost do it naturally when we tell ourselves that we want something longer than that. I don't know if you actually, yeah, great. So let's hear from 14 one more time, but I want to hear that over every rest, right? Even if we are breathing, it can be part of the phrase, okay? Beautiful, beautiful. much for coming today and sticking with me through all the good and the bad and the hard times and all the feelings. We all have them. But the last thing, as my batteries, it's that reminder that that authenticity is way more important than perfection. And even this moment, you can feel it. As soon as someone decides to lean into the character of a piece, it changes the way that we hear it and experience it. So I really hope that you take that away. And perhaps if you would like to connect with me and tell me other ways that you feel that you've been moved by this class, that would really mean a lot to me. And also, if there's anything else in the future, because NTC is going to continue, as we know, for a very long time, if there's other types of classes that you guys are interested in so that we can make sure that we hit those while you guys are here in the future, because y'all are rock stars. So enjoy.